What is a fighting game without its characters? And what are the characters without their moves and attacks? A huge part of what makes the characters we love what they are is their signature special attacks, and perhaps even their normal hits that remind us of who they are and what personalities they have. But not every move a character has in-game is something that will always remain with them through their various appearances. Sure, some of their attacks are mainstay signature moves like Scorpion's Spear or Raiden's Teleport, but sometimes characters are given certain moves simply to add to their arsenal in-game and help them play a certain way. This is where the discussion gets a bit more philosophical, I guess, but from a designer's point of view, it is important that a character have certain tools covered in order to be viable, and often a big part of this is the hit direction of their attacks. The extreme summary of hit detection is where the attack will hit the opponent. Will it hit low? Will it hit overhead and need to be blocked standing? Or in some cases, is the move completely unblockable? Typically, the latter is given out a lot less often than anything else, as unblockable attacks are exactly what they sound like. Attacks that cannot be defended against by blocking in any way, and will outright hit you if you try. Sometimes these unblockable attacks have significant downsides to make up for this, such as slow startup or other such drawbacks. However, there have been a lot of unblockable moves in Mortal Kombat, and sometimes, just sometimes, they end up being a little bit crazier than you'd assume at face value. And those are the ones we're focusing on today. We are Ketchup and Mustard, and join us as we show you 5 absolutely insane unblockable attacks in Mortal Kombat. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, tell us what you thought of this episode in the comments, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date on all of our uploads. Number 5. MK Armageddon. Getting this one out of the way first because it's the only one on today's list that isn't tied to a specific character, but more something that many characters can do on the regular that is super strong. Many characters in MK Armageddon have a similar kind of unblockable ground pound, a move that will slam into the floor and deal unblockable damage to the opponent if they're on the ground at the time. There's no travel time or shockwave effect or anything, simply if they are on the floor, they will take damage by it. What makes this so noticeable in Armageddon, however, is that in this game, each player is given 3 breakers that they can use at any time to get out of combos or to avoid damage. The breaker has an individual animation and will cause the attacker to get knocked back, resetting the situation somewhat. However, if the defending player uses a breaker while they're in the air being juggled, the animation will cause the attacker to be splat on the floor and the defender will recover much quicker, enabling them to use their unblockable ground pound guaranteed for unavoidable and unbreakable damage. It basically means the player has to be extremely careful when trying to attack if they have low life, as successfully hitting the opponent could result in you literally losing the round because you got a hit, launched them, got combo breakered, and now you got hit by an unavoidable, unblockable straight away. Whether it's Jarek, Shinnok, or many of the other characters that have such a similar unblockable in Armageddon, this is one of the milder ones on our list, but definitely a threat to watch out for if you're playing someone in the know. Number 4. MKX Boraicho. MKX is certainly one of the crazier Mortal Kombats to exist overall. Extremely aggressive, flashy combos, run button, high damage all over the place. It certainly fits a level of appeal with the MK community as a fun spectator game, and a high-octane competitive experience, certainly not for the faint of heart. Released in 2015, MKX has continued to develop over the years and still sees competitive play to this day. Longtime viewers of this channel will be no stranger to it as it's the first game that we covered in a huge way as content creators. It will always hold a special place to the two of us and always be a game that we enjoy going back to. However, one thing about this game is that it's so aggressive. Characters with overhead low vortexes, crazy run cancel pressure, giant chip damage, characters running at the speed of light, and sometimes unblockables putting you in a very scary spot. For this, we look no further than Boraicho, a character who definitely got their share of buffs through the game, but sure has always been a mix-up menace, particularly in the corner, and that's what we're focusing on here. Boraicho has a number of effective special moves in this game, but we're focusing on his unblockable ground pound, as not only does this serve as a threat in the neutral for instant full screen damage to those who didn't avoid it, but more importantly, Boraicho can guarantee this ground pound after certain knockdowns, to hit an opponent as an OTG after most hits. What makes this even scarier is that on hit, this Unblockable has enough advantage to guarantee more pressure for Boraicho, and given that Boraicho has a number of 50-50 overhead low options off of this pressure, it opens up for a true vortex that can win the game off a single sequence. Basically, get a hit in the corner, knock them down, pick them back up with the Unblockable, enforce the unseeable overhead low mix-ups, on hit you knock them down again, pick them back up with the Unblockable, rinse repeat. Hands down, one of the scariest unblockables to be on the receiving end of in this game, and that's saying a lot. Number 3, MK vs DC, Superman. Yeah, I know Superman isn't an MK character, but this is still an MK game, and trust me, this one belongs here. There isn't much to say here, so I'll be brief, but Superman had a full screen unblockable attack that could be extended via MKDC's Pro Move system. Pro moves were basically enhanced specials as we know them today, but in this game they didn't require resources to be done, simply a specific timing on the input of the Pro Move extension, leading to some wild possibilities. One such possibility is what you're seeing here. Superman's Pro Move ground pound is an infinite, into itself, requiring nothing more than simply inputting this move over and over again before the opponent stands up. To make matters worse, you can end combos with it. You can threaten it off a breaker, you can hit it in neutral, and more. Technically, you can escape it by activating your rage mode, but even back in the day, players such as Check figured out ways of using this that wouldn't build rage meter for the opponent, turning it into a timer scam infinite instead of an infinite that will win by KO. Anyone that may have played MK vs DC online back in the day of the 360 and PS3 will remember that fighting Superman players online would exclusively go for this most of the time. Horror stories, I tell ya. Number 2, Cyrax bombs in MK9. Cyrax bombs are for sure a signature move of this character, and up until MKX they were always unblockable. Typically used as more of a neutral tool and something you'd throw out looking for combos, or to bait people into jumping so you could anti-air them to catch them in a net perhaps. You'd think that due to them being unblockable launchers that they'd see Cyrax rise to the top in most games, as this is such a strong utility to have on paper, but not really. Bombs have always had their use, but they aren't always enough to propel the character to the heights of top tier. However, one game that bombs were maybe the main reason Cyrax was considered as strong as he was is MK9. Anyone that followed this game even slightly has heard the tale of Cyrax damage and touch of death unavoidable reset combos off of most touches, and this is the reason Cyrax is in this list. I won't be a broken record, but to quickly summarize, Cyrax bombs are unblockable. Net stuns. Using a second net mid-combo will cause a restand that ends the combo. So Cyrax would look to hit a combo, use the net, throw some bombs, and time it so the second net connects on top of an exploding bomb, which causes an unavoidable guaranteed reset into another combo for gigantic damage. Even outside of the huge damage combos, unblockable bombs were lethal in this game. They could be set up on block, thrown around constantly in neutral, used for combos obviously, and they would even let you combo off a breaker and so much more. Truly the glowing example of why unblockable bombs perhaps need not return, as they were blockable in MKX and they were still strong, just nowhere near as overwhelming as an MK9. Only time will tell how they'll be in future Cyrax appearances, but fingers crossed we get the chance to find out. Number 1, Dairu Tombstone Drop. Certainly saving the best till last, I think. Dairu's Tombstone Drop in MK Deception is ridiculous. These lists aren't ever framed as a definitive top 5 because that's not really the point of them, but I want to go on record and say that I think that this is hands down the scariest unblockable attack in all of Mortal Kombat. Tombstone Drop is a 3-frame, I said 3-frame, unblockable launcher that Dairu had in Deception. Due to the slow jump startup in this game, the only way to reliably avoid it was to preemptively jump, which was dangerous as he could catch your jump and reliably anti-air. Tombstone Drop was impossible to react to, and ducked Dairu to the ground while using it, which would make it avoid projectiles and some other attacks as well. And you could also hit it for free off a teleport. This move got nerfed in both the GameCube version of Deception and in Armageddon by slowing down the startup, but it's still super strong. In Deception, it was just out of control. It allowed Dairu to play such an effective game of non-stop threatening Unblockable, which would be an easy 30% on hit, controlling your opponent's movement off the back of it and just dominating the neutral. One thing to remember as well is that Deception was the first MK game to feature online play for the PS2 and Xbox, but it behaved very differently online compared to offline. The game used GameSpy servers and input delay netcode, which, believe it or not, wasn't the worst thing for mid-2000s, but remember, Tombstone drop is 3 frames. It's hard enough to play around offline, let alone online, when you throw any form of input delay in any fashion into the mix. Dairu is commonly considered to be the absolute #1 character in Deception, and Tombstone drop is a huge part as to why that is. And there you have it, 5 insane unblockable attacks in Mortal Kombat. It's nothing new that characters have specific strong tools in these games, so expect to see more episodes of this nature in the future. But I hope you enjoyed these selections, and if you disagree with any of them, be sure to let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.